We cut out there, but I've got my first apple peeled, so I have to do the other 3. We're peeling a lot of apples because it's a pretty big pie. This can actually serve a lot of people. So I need 4 apples. This one is significantly easier to peel. Alright, so we're continuing on here. And we continue on. So right now we're almost done with our second apple. You see, this is what it looks like so far. There's still a good chunk more to peel, but we're almost there. I'm just fanning out, doing it over the garbage more directly so that I minimize any spillouts that I have to clean up later. Okay, the second one should be peeled enough now. And for a third one. Just make the slightly bigger one our third one, make the smaller one our fourth. If we're just making regular stewed apples, I do these with the skins, but we're not making regular stewed apples. We're making them for the pie, so I can't do them with skins, unfortunately. Sorry, out of habit, I went to there, but my garbage can is actually right by the bottom of the recorder. If you look down for a second, it's actually right there. So if you slide it under, you'll see it. A third apple is skinned. to our fourth one. We're almost done peeling our apples. It's the fourth apple. Here we go, that's our fourth apple. Now we're gonna quarter and core these. So we'll get out our knife. We can quarter and core. Knife. Just in case, we'll quarter and core them. Long ways. You can't see what I'm doing. There we go. First I cut long ways. Cut downward. Quartered and cored. Right now. Like that. This. This. Our last one, our last two too. Make sure you're always careful with the knife. I didn't cut myself, which is good. But you always want to make sure you're careful. Go. And we'll quarter and core our last apple, or core and quarter our last apple. Some trouble with this apple. I think got a little too much by the core, or too far away from the core, but we can fix that. We'll just use a different method. We can always improvise. Cooking isn't a precise science. It actually works out better because it's already almost cut in thick chunks. So that's what our next step is actually going to be. We're going to cut these apples into thick chunks. So we just cut our quarters into 2 or 3 pieces. We'll have the thick chunks that we need, about this size or this size. Discard our cores. You don't want to cut too thin. We definitely want to have thick chunks. I cut that one a little thin. Cut that one in 2. That chunk in 2. Let's say we can actually cut this in half. If we see any seeds, we'll remove those. We don't want any seeds. If you feel like your chunks are a little thick, you can cut them to smaller, thick chunks. You just want to always make sure they're not too thin. Second thought, we'll probably cut these into smaller chunks, but we just want to make sure that they're thick. Like this, like a chunk like this should be good. You can start moving your done chunks to a bowl too, because we're going to be coating them in a bit. I want to make sure no seeds or core makes it in. Yeah, we're almost done with this part. There we go. Now when we're done cutting more chunks, we'll just move it to the bowl. Or cell seed in there, so we had to get it out. If you still find that there is some skin on some of your chunks, you can just quickly cut it off. Sometimes when you do the peeler, you don't get everything that you'd like off. But if the little skin makes it in, it probably won't be the end. we go. Those are all our apples peeled, cut, quartered, and cut into thick chunks. Alrighty, now our next step is going to be we're going to sprinkle it with our spice sugar to coat. So we'll sprinkle all this good stuff in. You want to move it around so that make sure all the apples get evenly coated in this good stuff. I definitely recommend doing that. I'm telling you, this sugar mixture smells so good. It's crazy. It smells heavenly. There we go. With my hands quickly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next step. We're actually going to move on to the cooking part of this. So for these stewed apples, we're going to be using a wider skillet rather than the smaller skillet that we used last time. So we're going to put this on high heat. Well, let's put the one close to this on high heat. We're going to put this on really high heat. And then we're going to melt half of our butter. So we're going to be using 4 tablespoons of butter. We're going to melt 2 tablespoons of those 4 tablespoons. We're going to be melting in the high heat pan. We're going to spread this around the pan. Make sure our butter gets nice and melted. You want to make sure the butter doesn't burn now. Yeah, that's pretty much melted, so mostly melted. So what we're going to do is we're going to take half of our apples, throw them in there for 5 minutes. Make sure they caramelize for 5 minutes. Oh man, that smells amazing. I hurt myself there. Want to make sure you're extra careful. We're getting that stewed apple smell that we got last time. Now we're getting to the point where we can just like cut through these with a knife, and it's wonderful. If you do find a seed got in your stewed apples, that's okay. Smell that, that's amazing. Stir this around. We have a couple more minutes left. About, I think, 3 to 4 minutes left. Well, those are really nice and caramelized. Really 3 minutes left at this point. You're starting to see them get so golden brown. Wonderful. They're just coming apart so easily now. Alright, 2 minutes until these come off. These just look wonderful. The next step after we do this is we're going to be doing this with the other half of our apples. So we'll be doing this again real soon, but we'll be melting more butter. Oh, these are getting so brown. Truly, these look amazing. So these are coming off in a minute. Literally a minute left on these, and then we're doing this again. They're almost done. I'd say we probably should take them off now, before they get burned. So we'll transfer them off our heat. We'll quickly turn off our heat. Wait for these to cool. I think you could even let these go for 30 seconds without the high heat, and just wait for these to cool off in the pan. They'll get a little more doneness with the residual heat. But now these are looking really golden brown and not burnt, because they're not burnt because we're not hitting it with the extra heat from the pan. I turned this off. So while the skillet is still hot and they're getting cooked, they're not going to get extra burnt. So I think we've reached the point where we can slide them into our bowl. It's a little heavy, so you might want to get a fork or a spoon and do this. Not just directly sliding them off. I slid it off screen because it would have been really hard to do it on screen. But this is what our first batch of apples looks like. And they smell really good too. But now we're going to be doing the next stage. So I'll just quickly get another knife because we were using this in the pan. So I'll just get another knife. Get this back on high heat. And start going again. Once this butter is melted, once this butter is melted, we're going to be putting in the next batch of our apples for 5 minutes. That's melted, so in our apples go. Always make sure to be gentle and careful. Of course, I dropped an apple. Take my hands off for a second. Let those caramelize. I'm doing this at a little less high heat because I feel like I could have because I feel like the other apples just got a smidge too done. So we're gonna be putting this on for 5 minutes. It's been in for about 15 seconds already. So we're almost done. These apples are going to be coming off in... Oh, well, I mistimed it. These will be coming off soon. In about 3 minutes. 2 or 3 minutes. They're still not really tender and soft yet. Some are giving a good amount of way when I cut them with this knife. The problem is there's still a good chunk of resistance. So although we see them, one fell out. Although we see them as brown on the outside, on the inside they're not tender. We want them to be tender, so that'll come with a little more time. I think if we kill the heat now and let it cook let it cook without the heat for another minute, the apples won't be very burnt on the outside, or not burnt on the outside. The apples won't be black on the outside, but they are going to be they're going to be tender. So we'll just wait for those to cook out a little bit. See how those are starting to get really tender? These are looking wonderful, and they're not black on the outside. And our other ones aren't black on the outside. They're a little more done, but these are still looking good too. They're so wonderful. Love these. Right, these can come out. Yeah, those are tender and done. They're wonderful. Yeah. So now I'll just go slide off these apples to our bowl. If you want, if any of your liquid comes off, what you can actually do is you can put it into the you can actually grab your bowl of apples, as I have here, get your liquid, and just dribble it over it. But that's only if you have some left over, because this steaming liquid's actually, or the stewing liquid is actually really nice. It's like caramel. It's really a wonderful mixture. So now we're gonna wait for these to cool off completely, and then we're gonna move on to the next step of making our pastry. Doing a little kitchen cleaning as I go. So that I'll be completely ready for when we make our actual pie. So recording, that's really nice. Our heat's off. And we'll just leave this pan here for a minute. So now we're going to transition to the thing that everybody wants to see. We're going to transition to the pie part. So here we have our first pie crust prepped. We have our Pillsbury pie crust. We lightly floured the inside was lightly floured. And we're going to start filling up our pie. So first we're going to put in our pie filling. We're actually going to need to get out a serving spoon for this. This you don't really want to do with your hands. So we're going to get out our pie filling and just scoop it in, like I'm doing right here. Just a little warm, so I'll wait just a couple more minutes before doing it, or before fully putting the filling in. Are we still filming? Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we're still recording. That's good. As you can see, there's still a little steam coming out of this. So you just want to make sure it's just cooled off completely before you actually put it in. On the bright side, these stewed apples are actually looking really nice. They're golden brown. They're wonderful. So I'm really excited about this dish because it actually looks like it is really good. So I hope it goes as well for you as it's going for me right now. But anyway, you can do this with pears, and you can do this with pretty much the other fruits we said you could stew the first time we made this. So get creative and do what you want with the pie. This could actually be a really good thing to serve at Thanksgiving for dessert. You have your stewed apple pie. I mean, everyone's had apple pie unless you're allergic to apples like my mom is. But if you ask people if they've ever had stewed apple pie, the answer probably will be no. So you could really surprise people and bring something interesting and new to Thanksgiving dessert. So I highly recommend you make this before Thanksgiving so that you can share with your family. Or whoever else you're celebrating Thanksgiving with. These smell really good. Like I'm so glad I made these. So there's still a little steam coming out. So when we're done making the when we're done actually making the so when we're actually done making the filling inside, we're gonna do the next part. And there's no more steam. Let's wait for this to cool off a little more. I'm not seeing any more steam, so we can start to spoon in our filling again. Just wonderful. I love this filling. It smells great. It's gonna go in the oven. It's gonna be wonderful. Oh, you want to make sure you don't destroy the pie crust though. Don't be like me. Spoon it in nice and gently. Make sure you get all that good filling in there. Truly, I love this filling. After I made stewed apples that last week. Or not last week, sorry, 2 weeks ago. I actually awakened my family and myself to the joys of stewed fruits. So we're definitely going to be continuing incorporating the stewed fruits into our diets. If they're super high in sugar, if you can't take much sugar like my grandmother can't really have these. But if it fits into your diet, I definitely recommend having these. If you can't fit in all the fruit, do not hesitate to have a little left over for yourself, or for your family if they want to have some stewed apples. But it looks like we're hitting pretty much the maximum here. Let me fit just a few more. Really running out of room here. Fit? Yes, there we go. We got it all to fit. There we go. There we go. Really glad that worked out. Alrighty. On to the next step. So we have our apple pie there, but we're actually going to do something extra special. You know those strips that you see on pies a lot? We're going to be making those. So if we come in extra close, lower my camera down, we're going to just make these nice little cuts here. Like that. Make sure you don't stab yourself with the serrated part. I'm doing the flat part of this down. So I'm just doing these nice indentations like that, so that I actually know to cut down. Where to cut down. First I'll cut down there. Okay, go in there. Do that. So I'll do that. Then I'll do that. Then I'll do that. Then I'll do that. Then I'll do that. I'll do cut there. Then I'll cut there. Still filming good. Then I'll cut there. Then I'll cut there. Then I'll cut there. Then I'll move this back. Then I'll cut there. Then I'll cut there. Okay, that's wonderful. Actually, we want this go. So then, we'll take our strips and then start laying them out like that. So we can get everything to fit down. Like that. I know I'm doing it a little far away, but I'll show you. I'll show you when what I'm doing in a second. There we go. This looks beautiful. It's a little long, so we want to take one of our shorter strips. It's a little long too, so this is perfect for our shorter strips actually. Stick that up there. Then we can actually do it a long ways too. So now I can move it over here. Do like that. That. Ah, that broke. Oh no, that's why we have spares. It's okay. Do that. You know what, I'll cut just a little off the top. So that actually fits really well. Like that. Ah, no, this one I have to be really careful. That's okay, though. We have extra, which is good. Put that off there. That's good. Put that there. Up, up. Okay, okay. Rip that off there. If something were to happen, it wouldn't be the end of the world because you could just fix your mistakes. But even after we're done with this laying of the strips, we're not going to be done just yet. We actually have to scramble 2 eggs, and then brush them on the top as our egg wash. And the best part about making this pie is that even if you have, let's say that you have a bigger strip that actually turned out to be way too big. Let's say you have a bigger strip that actually turned out to be way too big, like for example, this strip here, not this strip here. This strip here was initially too big. I cut it down to make it smaller to let it fit. So here's our first pie, but we're not done with it just yet. Put our excess there for a second. We actually have to scramble and beat 2 eggs. So we actually just have to scramble 2 eggs so that we can put an egg wash on the top. 1. It's 1. 2. Oh no, I put my fork away. Oh, okay. Sorry, I accidentally used my fork that I had put out for the egg earlier. That's okay, I'll just rinse off my hands. Alrighty, and now that I've rinsed out my hands, I can get out another fork and then beat my egg. We actually want to get a little longer piece here. There we go. That fits more evenly. There we go, so now our eggs are beaten. Now we'll take our brush, dip it in our egg, and gently brush the top of our pie. That's a drip. Gently brush the top. Like that. Now you might be asking yourself, Christopher, why in the world am I brushing the top of my pie with egg? I'm going to tell you that you're doing this because you want to have a nice golden brown crust on the top. Something that everybody wants when they see a pie. Something that I want, something that you want, something that everyone wants. And we can do that with the stewed apple pie because we can brush it with egg. Everything is nice and coated with our egg. Beautiful. Now you're going to say to yourself, Christopher, are we finally done and we're going to be able to put this in? Well, the answer is no, we're not done just yet because we're going to need to get out our piece of tin foil and do what we did the last time with the chicken pot pie. So we're going to actually put a piece of foil on top of our pie. Like so. We're going to get out our knife. We can use the same one we did for the stewed apples. Feel and then trace a circle with our knife. It's a really bad circle. What this essentially does is make it so that when we go to take the pie out of the oven, we actually have a solid place to grasp it, to grasp the pie from. And furthermore, this ensures that our crust doesn't burn. We want our crust to be nice and golden brown. We don't want a burnt crust. And if we do this step with the tin foil, you actually can do that. There we go, that's perfect. It's an imperfect circle, but it'll do. You can rip off the rest of this tin foil. Go. And then the last and final step is that before you do this, you're going to want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And then when your oven is actually preheated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, you're actually going to put your pie in the oven. And you're going to put your pie in the oven for about, I don't have my notes here, for about 35 to 40 minutes. And then when you're actually done with your pie, you're going to want to let it stand for about 10 to 20 minutes so that your pie is nice and breasted before you serve it to your wonderful family. Or your guests, or whoever you have over. So we're going to wait for my oven to preheat to 375 degrees, and then we're going to be putting our pie in. I'm making a break in the video now, but we'll be back soon.